Something is very wrong with the Epstein files, and nobody wants to talk about this part. Now, for months, we've been told the same thing over and over again. Just wait, it's coming. Everything will be released. Then suddenly, the timeline slips, deadlines vanish, and now we're told that over 1 million additional documents that somehow change everything. Wow. Now think about that, guys. We're being told that there are over 1 million additional documents that change everything. If transparency was the goal, things should be speeding up, not grinding to a halt, right? I mean, this is when we uncovered something unbelievable. It's not a rumor. It's not a leaked screenshot, not another recycled headline. No, this is a pattern that explains why the files keep getting delayed, why impeachment demands suddenly exploded out of nowhere, and why the volume got turned up instead of getting the facts clearer. Because once you see what's really happening here, the panic makes sense. Now, this is not about protecting victims, and it's not about justice either. It's about control. It's about control of timing, control of narrative, control of what you're allowed to focus on while something else quietly disappears. President Trump has called for transparency. The media says trust the process, and yet somehow the process keeps on producing confusion instead of clarity. Well, tonight, folks, we're going to walk you through what was uncovered, why it wasn't supposed to be noticed, and how one overlooked detail somehow connects the delays, the document dump chaos, and the sudden political hysteria. Once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it, folks. Let's get into it. Hit the subscribe button, folks. I really appreciate all of my new subs, all of our existing subscribers, and I saw statistics that said something like only about 15% of our viewers who regularly watch the show are even subscribed to the channel. So make sure you subscribe. Okay, so let me be very clear about what was actually uncovered here, because this isn't gossip and it's not another recycled Epstein headline meant to shock you for like 5 minutes and then disappear. What was uncovered was a procedural anomaly, okay? Now, this is something that should not exist if transparency were truly the objective. And so when documents are legitimately prepared for release, the process is boring. It's linear, it's predictable. But what we're seeing instead is a disruption inside the process itself, a snag that doesn't come from legal necessity, but more from handling decisions. That is the red flag. Because when transparency is real, it moves forward. But when something is being managed, it slows down. And that's the moment the question becomes unavoidable. If everything is being released, then why is this one thing slowing everything down? Not names, not rumors, but the mechanics of disclosure. Now, once you stop watching the headlines and start actually watching the process, the story changes, and so does who benefits from the delay. And so that brings us directly to the excuse that suddenly appeared. Check this out. Almost overnight, guys, the narrative shifted. We were told that there are now over 1 million additional Epstein-related documents, and suddenly everything makes sense, or at least that's what we're supposed to believe. Now, here's the issue, guys. Volume doesn't stop transparency, control does. Large document sets don't delay justice by default. They delay justice when the same people deciding what gets released are also deciding when and how it gets framed. Historically, massive document dumps are the oldest tactic in the book. You bury accountability under quantity, and then you call it transparency. Because 1 million files sounds impressive until you ask the real question: who controls the clock? Who decides which files get prioritized? Which ones get contextualized? Which ones get quietly pushed so far down the stack that no one ever sees them? That's not transparency, that is narrative management. And once you see that, the delay stops looking accidental. And so once you step back and you look at the timeline, the excuses start collapsing. Because this isn't the first delay, it's not the second. In fact, this is a pattern now. Across multiple stages of Epstein-related disclosures, deadlines have slipped quietly, sometimes explained, sometimes not, and every time the justification sounds reasonable on its own, but when you line them up, the story changes. Requests for more time, additional reviews, newly discovered material, reclassification, reprocessing. Individually, none of these sound sinister. Together, they form a stall tactic. Now, here's the key point. This isn't about who's in office or which party is in charge. This is about process behavior. Bureaucracies reveal their intentions through repetition. And so at this point, delays stop being logistical and they start being intentional. That's when transparency turns into theater. And so when deadlines become flexible, accountability becomes optional, which leads to the next problem, because even when material is released, something critical keeps disappearing. And what we're talking about right now isn't just about documents or delays. It's about what happens when people assume everything's fine and never look closer. Now, one of our viewers, she told me she just wasted almost $900 last year simply because she just never compared her Medicare plan to anything else. Nothing dramatic happened, no big warning sign. Her plan just wasn't competitive anymore. She said that money could have changed my whole year. And that really stuck with me because Medicare works the same way that these disclosures do. Things change quietly behind the scenes, and if you're not reviewing it, you don't even notice the damage until it's already done. And this is why I partnered with Chapter. They help match your Medicare coverage to what you actually need, not what you signed up for years ago, not what sounds familiar, but what actually makes sense today. And so most people, they're already dialing the phone number at the bottom of your screen right here, guys, 909-563-8279. Yes, it is a 100% free phone call and free service. There's zero risk, nothing to lose, everything to gain. Or you can click the link down below, askchapter.org/Ron, just to make sure that you're not leaving any money on the table. All right, so let's get back into it, because once you see what keeps getting buried in these releases, these Epstein files, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Now, this right here, this is where the illusion of transparency does its real damage. Documents get released, technically, but they arrive stripped of context, riddled with redactions, and dumped all at once. And that's not accidental, because when everything is released at the same time, nothing is actually seen. Key names appear without headlines, references exist without explanations, connections are severed before the public ever gets to evaluate them. Now, on paper, the boxes are checked, but in reality, accountability is blurred. This is how institutions comply without revealing. They overwhelm instead of clarify. And once that happens, attention shifts away from substance and toward spectacle. People argue over fragments instead of facts. The truth doesn't disappear, it just gets lost in the noise, which is exactly why fake material becomes so dangerous once it enters the conversation. Now, this is where everything went sideways, because once fabricated or debunked Epstein material entered the conversation, fake letters, manipulated images, recycled claims that didn't hold up, the entire discussion became contaminated. And that's the irony. The people claiming moral urgency ended up destroying credibility. And so when false evidence is injected into a real investigation, it doesn't strengthen accountability, it poisons it. Every legitimate question suddenly gets lumped in with the garbage. Every serious concern becomes easier to dismiss. That's exactly what happened. So instead of focusing on verified records, process failures, or institutional responsibility, the spotlight shifted to disproving obvious nonsense. The narrative stopped being about truth and it became about damage control. And once that happens, trust collapses on all sides. Because once fake evidence enters the record, the truth becomes radioactive. And when the truth can't survive on its own anymore, something else has to take its place. This is when the volume went up. The impeachment talk suddenly exploded. Notice the timing, guys. Impeachment rhetoric. You already know they're talking about Donald J. Trump here. Impeachment rhetoric didn't surge when new verified evidence emerged. It surged after delays mounted and fake material fell apart. That's not coincidence. That is narrative triage. When facts stop cooperating, escalation becomes a strategy. So instead of tightening the claims, the response was to widen them. Instead of proving wrongdoing, the focus shifted to outrage. And instead of letting evidence speak, the message became louder, broader, and more emotionally charged. Because impeachment talk doesn't require proof, it requires pressure. Now, this wasn't a legal development. This was a salvage operation. This is a way to keep the story alive without actually resolving it. And that's the tell, guys. If the evidence were solid, they wouldn't need to shout. They wouldn't need urgency. They wouldn't need spectacle. Which brings us to the contrast, because while the noise escalated, one position remained constant. While the noise intensified, one position stayed remarkably steady. President Trump did not respond with panic. Trump didn't escalate rhetoric, and Trump did not lean into spectacle. Instead, President Trump's position remained focused on lawful disclosure and process integrity. Now, that distinction right there matters. Calling for transparency isn't the same thing as endorsing chaos. President Donald J. Trump has supported the release of Epstein-related materials within legal boundaries while openly rejecting fabricated claims and politically motivated smears. Now, that's not avoidance, that's restraint, because transparency loses its power when it's weaponized. Once disclosure becomes a tool for narrative warfare instead of truth-seeking, it stops serving justice and it starts serving agendas. And President Trump's response drew a clear line between those two things there. Release what can be released, protect the victims, reject falsehoods, and don't turn due process into a circus. Now, that calm consistency stood in sharp contrast to the hysteria, and it exposed something very important, because the law doesn't move at the speed of outrage. Now, this is the part that almost nobody wants to talk about because it ruins simple narratives. The Department of Justice is bound by real constraints: victim privacy laws, ongoing investigative threads, chain of custody rules, sealed testimony, judicial oversight. None of that disappears because social media demands it. And here's the uncomfortable truth: some Epstein-related material cannot legally be released. We get it, totally get it, no matter who's president or how loud the pressure gets. That doesn't mean corruption, though. It means procedure. But when people ignore those limits, every delay gets framed as a cover-up instead of compliance issue. The public gets trained to expect instant disclosure, and when that doesn't happen, distrust fills the gap. Now, the law doesn't bend to hashtags. It doesn't respond well to manufactured urgency, which is exactly why narratives collapse. The media's reaction becomes the story. And so this is the moment that the shift becomes impossible to ignore. When key Epstein claims started falling apart, when fake material was exposed and timelines stopped lining up, you didn't see corrections. You didn't see restraint. You saw escalation. Headlines got more dramatic. Language got more extreme. Speculation replaced verification. Because when a narrative fails, the instinct isn't always to fix it. It's to overpower it. So instead of slowing down to reassess, coverage sped up. Instead of narrowing claims to what could be proven, the story widened. Everything became urgent. Everything became existential. That's not journalism under pressure. That is narrative defense. And the result is predictable. Confusion replaces clarity, and outrage fills the vacuum left by facts. Viewers are kept emotionally engaged, but substantively uninformed. When the story fails, the volume goes up. And while everyone argued over fragments and headlines, something far more important was quietly being decided behind the scenes. Now, here's the connective insight that almost no one was focused on. This fight was never about names. It was about control of disclosure. Who decides when information comes out? Who controls how it's framed? And who determines what context the public is allowed to see it or not see? See, that's the missing link. Because power today isn't hiding the truth outright. It's timing, it's metering it, it's releasing pieces in ways that steer attention instead of informing judgment. So while the public argued over personalities, institutions argued over process. And the people who understood that difference were never the loudest voices in the room. Power isn't hiding the truth, it's timing it. And once you recognize that, the delays, the chaos, and the panic suddenly make sense. Now, this is the part that almost never gets the attention it deserves. Because while politicians posture and media outlets escalate, the real cost is paid somewhere else entirely, by the victims. Every delay stretches the timeline of justice. Every politicized argument turns real trauma into a talking point. Every fake document re-traumatizes people who were already being harmed. And that's the cruel irony. The louder the narrative war gets, the further accountability drifts. The focus moves away from what actually matters: uncovering verifiable truth, protecting victims' identities, and ensuring that real perpetrators face consequences. Instead, victims become background noise. Their stories get drowned out by outrage cycles and partisan shouting machines. And that's not justice. That's exploitation. Every delay has a human cost. And when Epstein becomes a political weapon instead of a legal reckoning, the people who were harmed the most, they end up getting served the least. Which is exactly why what was uncovered here doesn't just expose a process problem, it exposes a moral one. So once you see the pattern, there's no going back. Because what was uncovered isn't just about Epstein. It's about how modern institutions handle truth itself. Delays framed as logistics, volume framed as transparency, escalation framed as accountability. And once the public recognizes that playbook, trust doesn't come back easily. This changes how future bombshells will be received. It changes how document releases are interpreted, and it permanently alters how people evaluate media urgency versus institutional reality. Now, the biggest fallout isn't political, it's psychological. People are learning to watch process, not headlines, to question the timing and not the content, to notice what's missing and not just what's loud. Once people see the pattern, they can't unsee it. And that might be the most consequential discovery of all. That's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. We'll see you next time.